There's always a lot to be positive and excited about this time of year. You know, hope springs eternal. Every year you can come into spring training and kind of feel like this is going to be our year, you know, for the most part, most teams. But there is one particular item for the Minnesota Twins so far early on in camp here that I think really changes the game for them, changes the conversations that we have about this team, and that is Kenta Maeda. Kenta Maeda feels great. He's throwing already a bunch. And, you know, this could be an unbelievably huge impact to the rotation. If Kenta Maeda can be back, can be a contributor, I think this is the area of the team that is potentially most improved from last year to this year. But in case you missed it, the beat reporters, including Do-Young Park, reported that Kenta Maeda in a bullpen session on Thursday was topping out at 89 miles per hour. Now, of course, that's not going to grab any attention. You know, anybody throwing 89, especially these days. However, for Kenta Maeda and him coming off of injury, I think that is incredibly encouraging this early. You know, we're in February still. So this early in camp that he's already throwing 89 is tremendous. And then for him to have thrown a bullpen session on Thursday and then coming back to today, Sunday, he's facing live hitters in spring training. So that is great to see. You know, they did say coming into spring training there was going to be no restrictions on Maeda. You know, how quickly they were going to move him along, we didn't know for sure. Him being a 34-year-old, you know, maybe would impact things outside of his, you know, just his injury recovery. So very, very good to see Kenta throwing and bouncing around and just looking full of life, and giving out some kind of fun quotes about how good he was feeling out there already on the mound. And we know Kenta Maeda is not going to be a power pitcher or anything. So the 89 miles per hour, you know, he was only throwing 90.6 the last we saw him in 2021. Was 91.6 in his great 2020 season and 92.1 in his last year as a Dodger. So, you know, we want to see him get back to those levels where he was successful. And again, to me, in mid-February, he's already throwing 89. That's such a great indication that he's going to be able to continue to progress up to where he's been in the past. And of course, you know, his velo, again, he's not a power pitcher. His fastball is his third most used pitch, especially during his tenure as a Minnesota Twin, with his slider and his split change being his primary offerings. But, you know, you got to be able to throw those hard too. You got to be able to keep hitters honest and have that velo there. And I think a really fair question about this Twins team is how can we expect them to be improved? You know, they signed Correa, you know, the biggest free agent signing in franchise history. Well, they already had Correa last year. They traded for Pablo Lopez, a big upgrade to the starting rotation, but they had to give up Luis Arraez. So, you know, and I think the easy answer to that question is health. Obviously, if the team is much more healthy than they were last year, that's an easy one. There's some hope there with, you know, a new training staff, but you know, we can't predict any of that stuff. And obviously, Kenta Maeda fits into that picture very squarely as well. But I think the other one is, you know, we talked about this a bit in a recent live stream. I think the bullpen is in a much better shape than it was at this point a year ago, or, you know, especially after the Rogers trade. So I think we can expect there to be at least a more stable bullpen, a little bit less trying to figure out how the bullpen is going to work out from day one. And then I do think the rotation could be a huge upgrade from last year because, you know, we're not going to be having, hopefully, guys like Dylan Bundy and Chris Archer types. Of course, those guys are no longer with the team specifically, but those type of guys taking starts in this, so many starts, not just starts, so many starts in this rotation. And, you know, if Kenta Maeda, you know, I think it's too much to ask, even at this point where we're excited, he's feeling good. I still think it's too much to ask to think that he could get back to that 2020, you know, near Cy Young season. But, you know, can he get back to sort of being where he was with the Dodgers? Better than we last saw him with the Twins in 2021, you know, since he wasn't healthy, he wasn't pitching well. But can he get back to that level with the Dodgers? You know, I think there is, you know, I'm thinking there's some optimism there. I think there's some optimism there. And of course, you know, there's going to be some, you know, workload concerns, even though he's throwing so much early here in spring. You know, again, he's 34 years old, so, you know, can't really expect him to go out and throw 200 innings after missing all of last year. But, you know, if he could throw 140 innings, That would be massive. Now, that is around what he averaged as a Dodger, so kind of keep that in mind. As we're rolling into that, I think that's even kind of an optimistic thing to try to expect. They're going to be careful with him. They're going to be careful with him, so any kind of little soreness or things here and there, they're probably going to be real careful. I think he's going to be one of the more likely guys to get sort of a DL stint breather, or IL, excuse me, in the middle of the year if he's not feeling great. They're going to stick him on the injured list for a little while, give him a break. And kind of back onto that Dodger thing, can he get back to that Dodger level? Well, a lot of the projection systems don't really think so. And maybe it is too much to expect at this point of a guy, again, who's 34, coming off a major injury, so much missed time, missed over a year. And again, this is a mid-February baseball take, but I think this could be game-changing for the Minnesota Twins. If Kenta Maeda can kind of progress from here, and this was the news that really, among quite a few other positive news items that have come out from spring training in Fort Myers already, this is really the one that's captured my attention the most, and I'm giving myself permission to be optimistic about Kenta Maeda. Oh, and it feels good. It feels good, man. Thank you so much for checking this out. We'll talk again soon. Thank you so much to all the channel members for supporting the channel, especially through the off-season here. Really appreciate it. Here are all of the premium members listed. Membership starts at $1.99 a month. And actually, we just talked a little bit about Kenta Maeda on a members-only video yesterday. So publishing some videos, putting out some blog posts over there, so check that out. But thank you for watching this video.